I'd really like to welcome all of you to our virtual film event this evening. I'm Linda Wilson, and I'm the president of the Alabama Interfaith Refugee Partnership. We're just so pleased that you're with us. This event is being co-sponsored also by the Alabama Coalition for Immigrant Justice, the Birmingham Islamic Society, and the University of Alabama at Birmingham Institute for Human Rights, and the Sparkman Center for Global Health. We're hosting this event in honor of World Refugee Day, which was actually June 20th, so we're a few weeks late, but we still are celebrating World Refugee Day. I'm so pleased that all three of the filmmakers for the three films we will be showing tonight are with us, and so they will be participating with us at the end of watching the films in an open discussion. And throughout the event, we encourage you to use the chat box and type in comments or questions you want to make sure that we get to at the end. So let's begin with some introductions of our co-sponsors. As I mentioned, I'm Linda Wilson, the president of the Alabama Interfaith Refugee Partnership. We are a nonprofit 501c3 organization dedicated to supporting refugees and asylum seekers through education, advocacy, as well as direct support, and we're based in Birmingham, Alabama. Tonight's event is sponsored by our Education Committee, which is chaired by April Jackson McLennan. We encourage you to visit our website to learn more about how you can volunteer with us and make donations, and there's lots of information on there. It's www.alirp.org. Now I'd like to introduce in turn our other co-sponsors. First, from the Alabama Coalition for Immigrant Justice, Ana Delia Espino. Ana?
She might have been bumped off. Let's move on past Ana.
Okay, and then let's go on to the Birmingham Islamic Society with Ashfaq Tawfiq.
Good evening. This is Ashfaq Tawfiq with the President Emeritus of the Birmingham Islamic Society. We are humbled to be the sponsor, co-sponsor of this film series. It is indeed in our vision statement, Birmingham Islamic Society's vision statement, to improve the quality of life for all. And as such, fighting injustices, fighting oppression here in our country and all over the world is part of our motto. We are part of the ALIRP in order to provide advocacy and direct support to the refugees, and we want to make Alabama a more welcoming place for the refugees. So please, as you watch these films, put yourself in their shoes and see how it is to be the one who is a refugee and face the challenges that they face as refugees. It has been always my pet peeve to make sure that we all understand that we need policies all across the world to eliminate the creation of refugees, because helping the refugees is band-aiding the issue. We should and we will, and we will continue to do that, but it is very important that we adopt policies that will eliminate. Birmingham Islamic Society, for whoever would like to know what we are, what we do, visit our website, www.bisweb1word.org to find out about Birmingham Islamic Society. And good viewing, guys.
Thank you, Ashfaq. I see Ana Delia is back, so could you unmute yourself and tell us about ACIJ?
My name is Ana Delia Espino, and I'm the executive director for the Alabama Coalition for Immigrant Justice. We are a grassroots statewide network of individuals and organizations that works to advance and to defend the rights of immigrants in the state of Alabama. And we do this by developing leadership at a grassroots level, by really engaging community folks in building alliances with different organizations, but also with the African American community and with the host community. We have a lens through policy work and advocacy. And we really want to find people where they're at and really empower them so that they can embrace the powers that they have. And so that way we can, at a very local and statewide level, shift the power for immigrants so that we are welcomed and seen as residents of the state of Alabama that are here to thrive and to add to our economy. I think in this state, it's really important that we engage a vast diversity of folks that are like-minded, and the work that we do is really important so that we can build power not only for the immigrant community, but for the community as a whole. And our work is really important as far as why we do this is because we really see that our community many times is fearful of seeking universal support, such as hospital visits or even following up with law enforcement if they are victims of crime, and we want to break all those barriers. I will be on the chat if anybody wants to reach out for more information. Our internet address is www.acij.net, and my personal email is anadelia@acij.net.
Thank you so much, Anna. And next we have from the University of Alabama at Birmingham Institute for Human Rights, Courtney Andrews.
Hi, everyone. My name is Courtney Andrews. I'm the program manager at the Institute for Human Rights at UAB. I want to apologize on behalf of Dr. Tina Kempen-Reuter, our director. She's sorry she couldn't be here today, but is very supportive of this partnership, and we're so excited to co-sponsor this event. For those of you who aren't familiar, the IHR was established a few years ago to serve as a platform for interdisciplinary research and collaboration from scholars, educators, students, practitioners, activists, to raise awareness about human rights issues locally in our own community and across the world. So the idea was to kind of build on Birmingham's historical significance in the struggle for civil rights for African Americans, and to sort of bring Birmingham into that broader movement for human rights. So we partner with different organizations, including the Birmingham Islamic Society and the Alabama Interfaith Refugee Partnership, on education and research efforts to promote and protect human rights locally, nationally, and globally. And one way that we do that is through our blog. So I invite you all to visit the blog. We have a number of posts on human rights issues and abuses related to immigrants and refugees in the US and around the world. So check it out. I hope you guys enjoyed the films. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much, Courtney. And then we have Dr. Meredith Garton from the UAB Sparkman Center for Global Health.
Thanks, Linda. Hi, yes, my name is Dr. Meredith Garton, and I am with the Sparkman Center. We've been here for about 40 years at the University of Alabama at Birmingham. And like so many people have said before, we believe in justice for all and we believe in health for all. So we don't think of health as just the absence of disease. It is being able to have the opportunity to live an equal, healthy, fair, just life. And here at Sparkman, we're really excited about the collaboration with ALIRP and also for this event as well. So thank you.
Great. And now I'd like to turn the program over to one of our filmmakers, Chin Lee, and she will introduce the New Immigrant Film Project and the other two filmmakers. Chin?
Thank you. Many thanks to all co-hosts, and a special thanks to Linda Wilson and the Alabama Interfaith Refugee Partnership for hosting this event. My name is Chin Lee. I'm one of the filmmakers whose work you are going to see tonight. Also here are filmmakers Rafael De Leon and Sai Hashimi, as well, and community support film director Michael Sheldon. After watching the 3 films for about 35 minutes, Rafael will open it up for discussion. We will get things started with a short video introducing the project. During the intro film, you will hear several questions that we would like you to think about while watching our films. We look forward to hearing your thoughts on these questions during the discussion. And please feel free to add all your comments in the chat box. Thanks again for being here. Please mute the audio and turn off your video during the screening. Thank you.
The films you're about to watch were made by and about new immigrants and refugees in the United States.
We made these films because we believe in the power of documentary storytelling to affect public opinion and policy.
We want the national debate about immigrants and immigration to be informed by the experiences and voices of new immigrants and refugees.
We have to find the story. What is it? That's your research.
Most of us came to this project with experience in some form of storytelling, but few of us had done any filmmaking.
Community-supported film provided training and mentored us through the process of finding a story and filming it.
Experienced editors worked with us on the post-production.
I think as a scene, it works by itself that way.
Community-supported film's mission is to amplify local voices in under or misrepresented communities so that they can effectively communicate their lived reality through documentary filmmaking.
Our projects focus on people, places, and situations, be they in Afghanistan, Haiti, or the United States, that we hear a lot about in the news, but seldom understand from the local perspective.
Our films are designed to be the starting point for discussion.
I'm curious why the filmmakers think that immigration becomes such a contentious point in society and why we default to hate or division.
I think the biggest thing that would be helpful in turning a page in how much hate is being spread around this world is really just talking.
We immigrants, we came to contribute to this country.
Please take advantage of the discussion guides and questions that you have been provided with, or which you can access from Community Supported Films website.
While there, please donate. This work depends on your support.
While watching our films, please keep in mind questions like,
What in our films reminds you of things or experiences in your own life? Or conversely, what feels unfamiliar, new, or surprising?
I don't remember these kids.
Those are your cousins from your father's side.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Some describe the United States as a melting pot, where all ingredients become one, and others as a salad bowl, which all ingredients remain distinct. Do you want our subjects to melt or remain distinct?
1, 2, 3. Push with your legs up.
Can you imagine our subjects being misunderstood, stereotyped, or attacked for what they look like or where they come from?
What actions should we take to address these misunderstandings or confrontations?
Thanks for watching.
We hope that our subjects' stories create a strong and lasting impression.
Hi, my name is Rafael de Leon. I emigrated from the Dominican Republic in 2009. I teach computer literacy at the KIPP Academy Charter School in Lynn. I co-founded the Latino Support Network and produced a local TV program on new immigrants called Caminos a la Integración, Pathways to Integration. Here's my film. Thanks for watching.
I know. I already messed it up.
Your eggs or my eggs?
I guess mine.
You're not ready to get married yet, though.
All right, I'm sure that marriage is not only for cooking. Like, there's other things that are, you know.
It's burning.
Everything we've been through,
You said 3, right?
it's just the two of us.
Yeah.
It's dry.
We have, like, almost a friendship type of relationship, but I also know that that's my mother and I can't, you know. She's not my friend, she's my mom.
Yeah, it has a little.
Sometimes it's a fine line between being friends and being mom and daughter.
I thought you were going to have salami.
It would be difficult for me if she is deported. Should I cook some? I love her more than, like, I could even express. She's done everything for me. You should have reminded me. I came to the United States when I was 5 years old, and it was supposed to be temporary, but it ended up being more than that. So I consider myself an American. I consider myself to be part of this country, to contribute to this country in every way that I can. So when the DACA opportunity came, It made me very happy and made my family happy because I was able to pursue a degree. DACA is Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. Without it, I wouldn't have been able to go to school. I wouldn't have been able to work, get any of the things accomplished that I have so far. But once the news came out that I'm one of the people that cannot qualify to renew, I have to figure out, am I going back to my country, different from where I've grown up and a place that I call home.
So one of the things we deal with a lot is limited resources out there in terms of competent lawyers who can explain to people what their options are. How did you navigate that?
My mother had a connection. She works at a laundromat in the financial district, and she became friends with some lawyers, and she got a connection through them. So I'm grateful as well as fearful, you know. So.
Thank you so much for sharing your stories.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Look.
That's your grandma.
Yeah. She looks like you. You look like her.
Thank you.
Yeah. Why do we have this setup here of toda la leche ahí?
Oh, that's something that we Dominican moms do all the time with all the kids when they're like.
It's been very difficult to be raised here and have all my family in the Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
It was cool.
She was your grandmother's sister-in-law.
Oh, okay.
And this is your aunt, this is your uncle, cousin.
That's my dad, first of all.
Never mind. We came to America because I was trying to get away from my husband, and it was a matter of either life or death because he tried to kill me 3 times.
I don't remember these kids.
Those are your cousins from your father's side.
Really?
Mm-hmm. They're all grown up. They have children.
I mean, yeah, because they're like a couple years older than me.
Yeah. And I know it's hard because we haven't seen our family in so long. And every time we were like, okay, now you finished 8th grade. We're going back to the Dominican. And then, well, Mom, I got a scholarship for private school now. Then when she finished high school, KIPP Academy helped her go through college. So who am I to close those doors for her? I have to let her grow.
This was after you gave birth?
4 days after.
Oh. I'm glad you took all these pictures. I would have never been able to
relate to where you came from and who your family is and everything.
Are you gonna make plátanos?
Yeah. Are you hungry?
Yes.
What time do you have to go to work?
At 4. Número 3, pero para otra gente también, see if they're confused. So number 3, Monica is George's sister-in-law. Because we're describing what Monica is to George.
Pero no es por maestro porque no lo estamos explicando.
Estamos bien. For a long time, I didn't want to speak Spanish because I feel like I have an accent. So it's like people kind of judge you for that. But now, working where I work, I feel more comfortable because I have daily interactions with people who speak Spanish. Okay? So number 3 is sister-in-law.
I'm a true believer that if you are going to live in another country, obviously you need to learn the language. So that's something that you should respect as an immigrant.
They're sisters, right?
The reason why Annabelle speaks more English than Spanish, it was a matter of choice because of her academics more than I don't want you to be Dominican.
Yeah, but I have to call Stephanie to figure out what my options are. Worst case scenario, maybe either get an extension, which I don't think anything's in place for that to happen yet. But as soon as something comes out of Congress, I want to be able to do something right away. Because that's I don't know how to
I do know something's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. The uncertainty of my legal status is really overwhelming, and it feels like it's a rock ready to fall.
Just to be ready?
Yeah.
Because you don't know.
I don't know.
When we get stressed, we all have different warning signs and symptoms. What do you feel like are your warning signs and symptoms when you get stressed out?
There's like, I know what my stress is. It's DACA and not like knowing what it's going to end up like. It feels like everything that me and my mother have worked for could just be thrown out the window. And like, so I don't know how to deal with something that I can't fix.
We might not be able to have control over what they do at the top. I'll be respectful. But there are things that we have control over in our lives. So what are some ways that you think you could implement avoiding the stressor?
Stay away from people who have an opinion that devalues me as a human being. Getting people involved within politics to be able to get a point across and like make change happen, and focusing on the positive is good. But I'm gonna be graduating in May.
Yes.
That's so exciting.
That is exciting.
It makes me want to cry.
Me too.
One more time. This is actually a song.
From what, 1950s or something? Do you need me to open the door for you?
I would love it.
Oh my.
Yeah,
November's coming up.
Yeah, so
I want a good Thanksgiving meal this year.
you're already thinking about Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
What is it that you want to eat this year?
I want turkey, mashed potatoes.
Just for 2 people. I'm gonna cook all of it.
Yeah, you're gonna have leftovers for a while.
How do you say a stroll on a windy day?
How do you say what?
A stroll on a windy day in Italian.
Girl, I don't know.
Wherever she ends up going, she has the upbringing of an American child. There's no denying that fact. If I were to be deported, I think she should just keep on going with her life here. Anna, do you want coffee?
Yeah.
If there are no changes with DACA or her legal status, basically, well, we have no other choices. How many sugar? 2.
Ah.
What do you want? Ah.
Look.
Oh, I like that. You just made that?
Yeah.
Where's the other one that I like? That one.
That one?
Yeah, that's like your emotions.
Yeah.
Sun,
That's
the
your
darkness.
understanding of what it is.
Well, that's what I thought. In between two worlds, is that what you mean?
Maybe.
I think it makes perfect sense.
I feel like my hopes are very similar to almost anyone. Like, I want to travel and come back to the place that I call home. This one I did by myself. You could keep this one. But I shouldn't have to give up my current life and my current situation in order to be able to experience that.
Which one is the one that your grandma wants?
I thought she wanted the potatoes.
No, she's not having the potatoes. I'm sorry.
I mean, highest bidder.
So how much do you want for it?
$2 million.
I cannot afford it.
Can you hold this for me?
Wait. There. Just make sure that this one. All right. Do you need me for anything else?
No.
All right. I'm gonna let you be then.
Hi, my name is Qing Li. I came from China with my family in 2016. I'm a scholar activist focused on women and public policy. I began my research on rural women in China. Now I'm engaged with women and immigrants from all over the world. This is my first experience with video storytelling. Here's my film. Thanks for watching.
Hello and welcome to the
2017 Columbus Day Parade here in Revere. It's a beautiful sunny day outside. Ignore all the clouds, but at least for the moment it's not raining, so we can take solace in that. Sitting with me here is my co-host today, Sherry Raftery, excuse me, Sherry. We were practicing that earlier and still I screwed it up. All right, we have Steve Reardon, who is a candidate for school committee. And followed behind Steve, we have Dimple Rana, who is running for councilor at large. Dimple is involved in a number of community-related activities, and she's looking to take some of what she's learned there and move that into a political career.
When she said, "Mom, I'm going to run a campaign," I was the first Indian American woman from Revere City. I'm like, wow. બધાને મારા માટે મેં બનાવી તારા કાલે મરચાં લાવેલી ને તો. When I came to US, little by little, we work hard and we have a house, we have a business, we have children. And it's like a beautiful family.
Mama likes to cook.
And Mama loves to cook.
So you guys, call Dimple, let's be efficient, don't walk. I know you want to walk, but time is very short. We want to make sure we knock on as many doors as possible, that we smile.
When you all are done, you can come back this way. You can call me. I'll pick you up, or you can walk over.
So you're recruiting youth for this campaign?
You know how I do.
When you're old enough to run and you want to run, she's going to be knocking on doors for you.
Exactly.
So. Return. Yeah.
I was thinking about my children to be a doctor or engineer. My kids always tell me, "Mom, don't think about you are in India now. You are in the United States. So let us to do what we want to do." My husband's father, like her grandfather, was a politician. So Dimple is she's like in a politics life.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Dimple. I'm running for councilor at large. I live right up the street on South Ave.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've lived there for over 30 years with my family. I currently work for the city.
Okay.
I'm the director of Healthy Community Initiatives, and I helped to start the West Revere Neighborhood Group. Yeah, murals, bike trails. So I'm trying to make the city a healthier place to eat and live.
I see the new playground and the dog park too.
Yep, those are my projects. This is why we need some new blood, because I want to make the city the best place.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you. I
You're
really
welcome.
appreciate meeting you, Pasquale.
It's Pasquale.
Pasquale. Great.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All
Nice
right.
to meet you, Walter.
You too.
If you need me, I'll hold a sign for you. Let me know.
Oh, okay, perfect. I'm going to put a star right next to your name.
Okay.
Thank you. I really
welcome.
appreciate it.
And 8. Wow, look at that. Are you gonna do it? When I came to US, you're gonna do it. I want to be very independent person. I work very hard. Very hard. Like I used to have 2 jobs even with my 4 children.
Okay, that is so smart.
I don't want to keep my kids in a babysitter, so I used to taking care of my kids in home.
Yeah.
I get the certified and I get some offer from some people. They give me kids or I go to the people house and then I raise for their kids and my kids. I teach my kids to be independent, never ask anything to anybody.
Do nice and clean job, okay?
So thank you, Bhavin, for hosting this. I wanted to just share some of my background and why I'm running as the first woman of color in Revere, which I'm really excited for, especially as a first generation Indian American woman. We're a community of 38% who are foreign born, and you can never tell by looking at our elected officials that we are such a diversity. And I've been on social media getting a lot of questions or a lot of comments from other people, from other candidates and also from their supporters. The comments that they were talking about, we need to build a wall. We don't want them there. Immigrants multiply like cockroaches. I'm not from the United States. How dare I run? The election is November 7th. So any, word of mouth, anything that you can do to help increase the support, either monetarily or our feet.
I was wondering, what is your advice for young immigrants who are trying to get into politics? What do you say to them?
I would say do it.
Hello, free vegetables. I got onions, garlic, sweet potato, spinach, beets. So if you know anyone who votes, please support her. She's awesome. She's really going to support everyday people, not just the rich and wealthy. Thank you.
Hi Helen, this is I'm volunteer for Dimple Rana's campaign. I'm calling because today is election day.
I'm calling to remind you to vote today in case you haven't already.
And if you need ride or anything, so please let us know. Thank you, sir.
I can't stand for me to change.
This is like a challenge to be her to be running the city councilor job. I'm wishing all the best and good luck to her. And I know definitely she is the big winner.
Huh? It's done. Yeah.
And the comments that were made was drain the swamp. And to me, that's not something that should be in politics. It's disrespectful.
We've got some results coming in here.
We have some more results, and it goes by. And this is with 12 precincts in out of 21. So right now, it looks like that the 4 incumbents are looking very strong, and former Mayor Dan Rizzo looks to be very strong. Rounding out the rest of the field, Todd Braid has 249 votes. Former councilor John Pellegrini, 790. Nicholas Galangi has 278.
Okay, everyone. I don't know if you've been watching the TV so far.
Watch a little bit.
We did okay, but as of right now, we are not the top 5.
Oh no.
But it's not over. It's not over. This is just the beginning, because what's happening nationally right now, with all the hate, with all of the terrorism, and all of...
We love you, Dimple.
Thank you.
It's okay, your name is already famous now.
Yes.
That's important. You have a good heart. And you are such a good girl. That's what I hear from a lot of people, A lot of people I hear from you. But it's fine,
No, it's fine.
You did your best.
It's all good. It's all good.
It's all good.
All right, sister, we're in it.
Hi, my name is Saeed Hashimi. I immigrated with my wife and 3 young children from Afghanistan in 2016. I grew up in Afghanistan and as a refugee in Pakistan. I worked in Afghanistan from 2005 to 2016 as a journalist and translator with the BBC and NATO. In the US, I worked at the New American Center in Lynn, Massachusetts, assisting other new immigrants and refugees. I'm now a communication officer at the Afghan Embassy in Washington, D.C. This is my first work on documentary film. Here is my film. Thanks for watching.
About your parents. Were your parents married before your 18th birthday? तपाईँ 18 वर्ष पुग्दा आमा बुवा तपाईको विवाहित नै हुनुहुन्थ्यो कि हुनुहुन्न थियो भने I never thought that I will be in this country. I never heard about America when I was a little kid, and now I am here in a big country. 02 नै हो यही राख्नुपर्छ भुटानमै जन्मेको हो नि
तुलसा चाहिँ हो यहाँ ए हैन नेपाल
तुलसा चाहिँ नेपालमा जन्मेको है I'm one of the case manager for the refugees here in New American Center. दिदीले यहाँनिर सहयोग गर्नुहोस् त
यसमा चाहिँ
हजुर ठिकै छ अब होटेल लिएर थपक्क आला
अब यसमा मलाई नलाउँ कि यस लाउँ जस्तो भयो यो एउटा चाहिँ शङ्का के तपाईलाई भनिहाल्छु सोधिहालेको मैले
ओके यति नै हो त ल How many more dumplings you are making? I was born in Bhutan. My whole family came to refugee camp in 1991 and I stayed there in refugee camp for more than 17 years.
Bison. Yeah. Look at that, Dad.
Looks so yummy, right?
Yeah.
I have 3 boys with my wife. They are now more used to with the American food, not our cultural food. I do prepare American food, like sometimes. My wife, she definitely do most of our traditional food. I choose the easy way, steaks and burgers and hot dogs. Basnos, is this done?
No.
Not yet? Little bit of time? Okay. कसले ल्याइदियो बोजूलाई
साइलाले न अहिले बस्तीबाट
अघि मोमो पकायो बोजू यहाँ थोरै यहाँ थोरै मोमो पकाएको नि आज
अनि यहाँनिर एउटा शासन सबैभन्दा कडा त्यो कर्पोरल पनिसमेन्ट भन्दछ नि हैन जुन बन्धन हुन्छ जहाँनिर चाहिँ उसले हैन उसको शरीरको सबै अङ्गहरू नै त्यो ठिङ्गुरो ठोकेपछि के हुँदछ चटपटाउन सक्दैन
Back in our country, it was very hard to practice our own religion. There was some of the religious persecution. Bhutan government brought a policy called Diglam Namja, which means one nation, one people, one religion. And Bhutan is the Buddhist country. People can't go to the church. There was no church. People can read Bibles.
आज तपाईको हैन संसारले यदि हामीलाई माया गर्दथ्यो भने हैन हामीलाई यो अवस्थामा उनीहरु पुर्याउँथेन उनीहरु जानेको थियो भने
We don't have that fear here, and that makes us feel very happy.
आशीषित बनाउनुहुन्छ आमेन आमेन हालेलुया हालेलुया
Good morning, this is Mani from Lynn Community Health Center. I am calling to schedule an appointment for you. In Lynn Community Health Center, I used to be an interpreter, but now my role is a community health worker. Father, mother,
Yeah.
they all live there?
Yeah, all in all.
Cambodia?
Yeah, Cambodia. I live in only one.
Are you working in...
I work the Uber driver.
Oh, you do Uber driver?
Yeah.
Wow, good. We had a lot of stories, patients sharing us that they have a lot of anxiety and they have a lot of difficulties going on. They even don't feel comfortable to walk into the health center. They feel like they might be arrested, they might be deported. This is really sad for me.
Yeah, nothing.
All right, very good. Let me go get your medicines.
People came here basically for hope. They are seeking help from us. Good to see you.
Yeah.
Ý là anh là bạn
8-9 महिना हामी त्यो छ अनि त्यो बिल आएपछि
ठिकै छ नि त के गरौँ भने नि तपाईको पहिलाको पनि त्यो चिठीहरू पनि राखेर अनि यो पनि राखेर एकैचोटि त्यो गरेर उनीहरुसँग बसेर यो चाहिँ फोन गरेर when I came in US as a refugee, it was a little bit challenges for myself in terms of language. We know a little bit of English, but it is very hard for people to understand what we are trying to say. As soon as I get here, I started going to the ESL class. My teachers, they guide me how to navigate things here. So I started helping our own community.
यसको पैसा तिर्नु कि नतिर्नु छ र
अहिले नि नतिर्नुहोस् हामी के गरौँ भने फोन गरौँ पहिला किनभने अब कहिलेसम्म कति चाहिँ तपाईले तिर्न बाँकी छ कति चाहिँ तिर्नु पर्ने हो यो कुरा चाहिँ उनीहरुसँग सोध्नु पर्छ ल बजा साल स्टार्टेड If we can sit down with one refugees and immigrants, we will be amazed by listening their stories and their experiences in their life. A refugee is that person who has lost everything in his life, but he haven't give up his hope. He still has hope, he still has energy, he still has power. We just need a little bit of help and support. Once in a week, we all come together, share our prayers, struggles. It was very hard for people who are 50 and older. They feel very lonely. They are isolated at their home. So when we have that kind of gathering, and they feel so happy, and they are always welcome. I don't know American people who are here, why they don't want immigrants or refugees here. I don't understand, because when I look back to the history of America, there are so many people who are immigrant. Even the white peoples migrated from different countries. They work hard, they got a hope, they got help.
Because they're kind of scared.
We should continue. No matter whether we are white, green, black, brown, all are human and we have the same red blood.
Thank you everyone again for joining. We have 39 active participants, so thank you. Just in case if you don't recognize me, my name is Rafael de Leon, one of the filmmakers, and I would like just to open it up for discussion. We really eager to hear about you. I want to remind everyone that the chat box is being monitored, so please post your question on the chat, and hopefully we can go over everyone's questions. So for now, I just want to start with one of the questions that was part of the introduction video, which is if anything in the film is sounds familiar or unfamiliar to any of you, if you can relate to anything on one of these three stories.
Raphael, this is Linda Wilson, and I was really on that very last film touched by the scene where the family was trying to figure out their electric bill, because some of the families our group has worked with, I realize how overwhelming it is, or even our system of paying bills. I mean, I can imagine that family, several months not getting any bill, and then all of a sudden you get these bills. So there is such a need for partners to walk this journey to help people learn about life in this new place. And I just appreciate all the people who reach out to try to be that sort of support. But I had a question for each of the filmmakers, which was how you decided on the particular topics that and maybe Raphael, start with you.
Sure. Well, the theme for the program since the beginning was about immigrants and refugees. So at the end, at the last phase of the training, we were like pitching stories, like what are possible stories. We didn't know when we started, so so at some point we start just looking what we can tell a visual story. So in my case, it just happened that Annabelle, which is my subject, I have worked with Annabelle. She was I work at the charter school, and she was a student there. But as usually happen, they hide and they keep that really close. They, let people know that she is undocumented, that she living with her mother in that situation. But I just got to know that by the time that I was doing the training, and I just found that wow, interesting. So I was able to establish a relationship because she's from Dominican Republic also. And then it was kind of easy to make a connection through that. So make her to open up and willing to share the story. And I was very honest with her, the reason why, this is really about, sharing the story so that hopefully we can have conversation about that and make changes. So, so yeah, that was it wasn't just like a casualty, I would say that. But
for me, I think first I want to choose a story can move myself and relate to myself. And because I did research on women's rights before I moved to US, so I'm looking for some inspiring women's story. And the second thing is I already have relationship with Dimple Rana, and she is the first woman of color to run for the city councilor in Revere. I think that story is very meaningful. And her mom, as an immigrant mom, to support her family, her daughter, from a lot of ways, not only bring food on the table, but also to help volunteer in the campaign. And even during the COVID-19, the whole family to help the community organize some diapers or food to the family who need. I think I want inspiring story, and I feel so lucky I have one.
Yes, as Chen said, inspiring story is very important. So to get one of these kind of inspiring story, unfortunately, I tried 3 times to get a topic by a refugee to a refugee, to reflect the refugee problems here in the United States who just come after long journey. This is indeed a hard part for a film topic, and then go film that. I would like to highlight briefly documentary different with the fiction film. Michael is here. Before I started filming the Bhutanese family, I tried very hard to film another lady. So during in the middle of the filming, she just gave up because she felt like his husband is not happy or a family member is not happy to be filmed. So I can say choose is essential, but not easy.
Yeah, thanks, Said. If you don't mind, Linda, I might just add, my name is Michael Sheridan, Director of Community Supported Film. So pleased to be with you and very thankful for all of you to be here and just the great organizing that the team did to put this event together. And I just wanted to comment as well, based on what Said was just saying, that, you know, one of the issues of selecting a story as a documentary filmmaker is that it is a struggle because people not only have to be willing to be interviewed, but they have to really reveal their lives. They have to really let their lives be explored. And in our current political climate, no less any normal time, it's very hard to go through that process, especially if you're already feeling vulnerable. And Community Supported Film has done these projects in a number of countries around the world, places like Afghanistan and Haiti. And this is the first project we did in the United States and with immigrants and refugees. And it might be surprising to you, but it was actually more difficult, particularly in this political climate that we were in. Not to say, to be honest, that Afghanistan or Haiti was easy in any way, but the folks that you're seeing here, Said, Raphael, Chin, I mean, and the other 7 filmmakers really put incredible effort into getting the stories that they did, in part because it's a hard process anyway, no question, but also because there were multiple occasions where people got cold feet partway through. As Said said, he went through multiple stories before he actually finished one that he could finish in the edit and present. You know, we had other filmmakers as well who went through complete filming of stories. They were actually in the editing phase, and the families got cold feet for various reasons and had to back out. And we had to actually destroy the footage so that they would feel comfortable going forward. So it was a real challenge. It would be really great to hear from folks just about what you've experienced in terms of your immigrant or refugee experience, or what kind of work you folks are doing with communities, what kind of challenges you're facing, because really these films are meant to stimulate dialogue around your experience, and we'd really like to get your thoughts about these questions, for example, of what it's like in your community in regards to, should the atmosphere be more of one of the old style mixing or the new style salad bowl? What does that mean in terms of the integration of folks into our communities? I should just mention, in terms of an update, in terms of a few of these stories, Chin can speak to it specifically, I know, but, Dimple has gone through a very difficult time recently. She was actually, as the subject of having run for candidacy twice, she has been working in the City Hall for many years and doing really important work in terms of community work, food access, justice issues. And she was recently actually appointed as a human rights post the recent race issues to be the head of a human rights commission in Revere. And shockingly, but not surprisingly, unfortunately, the really very racist city council said they wouldn't accept her. And frankly, what she's been running against in Revere is what has put the stop to her being able to be, as she already is, a human rights leader, but the commissioner for that, because frankly, the folks on the city council are coming from where I come from, frankly, an Irish, Italian background. We are coming from the old immigrant wave and still trying to hold on to power and not accepting. And it's a very, very disappointing and challenging situation to watch for Dimple and the community at large in Revere. I'd also just like to mention Saeed's character, Mani, on a positive side, you know, has moved from Lynn, where he was a case manager, as you saw in the film, for new immigrants and refugees. He's moved to Columbus, Ohio with his family, which is the largest Bhutanese refugee community, largest Bhutanese community outside of Bhutan in the world. And he continues to work with other organizations there as a case manager. And what's really heartening is that he and his organization have taken the lead on COVID response for the community, and it's been badly hit, as so many minority and immigrant communities have, being at the front line, et cetera. But they actually have been called out by the Ohio public health community to learn from them, because they've done such an admirable job on their COVID response, food distribution, healthcare assistance, et cetera. The Public Health Commission has come to them to learn what that community is doing and how they're doing it so effectively. So that's just a look at both, you know, the challenges facing the new immigrant refugee community, as well as the opportunities and what they do in so many ways to contribute to our communities.
I'd like to just echo Michael's request. I see many familiar names on the screen. I know many of you have personal experiences with refugees and asylum seekers here in Alabama or other places. So please share, and what other comments or reactions do you have? We'd love to have this opportunity to, especially to engage with our filmmakers. Anna Delia, I was just thinking from your position in ACIJ, you probably have a lot of experience with some of these issues.
I do, and I was trying to allow space for other folks to chime in, but I loved all three videos, and one of the guiding questions was, what do you see familiar or what resonates with you? And when I was talking earlier about the work that we do at ACIJ, I didn't mention why this was important to me. And navigating hope really resonated with me, because I saw my parents in that video. I was actually sending my colleague a message, because I remember being in those lines with community health workers or volunteers back in late 80s as they were applying for amnesty and trying to figure out how things work here. And I am a first-generation Mexican-American that has done many things that my parents only wished that they could have done. And I see the struggle that our documented person from Rafael de Leon's video went through. A lot of people that I love dearly and family members are in that situation. And I've seen community folk here in Alabama who have been held hostage by the DACA decision that we waited for so long from the Supreme Court. So it really hits home. It really moved me to tears, but it also is very empowering to see all these successes and to see that these stories are happening to other folks, and people are coming through and shining through. And in a state where this work and this community building is so important, it can be done. And we do have that light at the end of the tunnel as we build community and as we engage folks in these conversations, and as we get to know each other and share from our own experiences. And it's something that I see across the board in the people that work with us at a grassroots level, but also loved ones and family members.
Rafael, I wonder if you could just give us a little update about how it's been for Annabelle and Esther through the challenges of COVID, and also now in terms of the Supreme Court's decision around DACA.
It has been, because it's only the two of them, has been in Annabelle's size, right? Like a good news. I don't know if really a good news, because but at least it's not a bad news, right? So it's just like it was rejected. It's not that anything was resolved, but it is a good news that she can continue, right? Because they were evaluating like what's going to happen, just waiting, because there was a good chance that they have to, if both of them being undocumented, they deciding have a plan, like a second plan, just to go back. In the other side, now Esther is not, he doesn't have a job because of the COVID, and that's complicate everything for as a family for the two of them. So yeah, that's the really situation. It's just like they're trying to how to support each other. Annabelle still have their job, but Esther just lost her, and they're trying just to to support each other and see what's coming next.
And certainly I know Annabelle texted me right back after I breathed a sigh of relief, so to speak, after the court ruling, for so many such uncertainty throughout the whole process, but even more accentuated through this last period. And Annabelle texted right back, the activist that she is, all good for the moment, but we really need to keep pushing for citizenship and the ability to rectify the situation with comprehensive immigration reform. So that's certainly a major issue that I think all of us can be thinking about at least, and working towards coming to at least wherever we are on the political spectrum to some kind of comprehensive immigration reform, and pushing for that so that people have more certainty around the situation.
Definitely. We have a question from Lynn. Other than language issues, what do you see as the biggest hurdle for education for young people? And is it harder for younger children or teenagers? So I'm sure a few of you could answer that.
For me, language is always a challenging, but never be a first top one challenge. I think the top one is the misunderstanding between each other. Like my own experience, my children, they have no problem with language. They speak very well English, but at school, after COVID-19, they still call him Chinese virus. So I think language is not the big obstacle for immigrants, but the discrimination and misunderstanding from other people is the big hurt for us.
Where I'm from, in we have like a really diverse community here in Lynn, Massachusetts, and a high, especially where I live, like a high Latino population. And there are several organizations, and you will find all the community, literally hundreds of parents learning the language, coming after work and going to night school, trying to learn the language. It is a challenge, but really I will concur with Jean. Is a matter of comprehension among us, like going to you do your effort, but you go to the city hall and you get discriminated just because you cannot communicate, or asked to put on the side until, like, you can tell that they kind of mad because you're. So it could easily come because of the language, but still, like, not understanding the why that, like, you don't know for how long that person has been there, or that really doesn't matter. Like, I would say that it can come as a consequence, but really, language, I don't think is really the issue. It is a struggle, but not really something that I would put even on the top 3 of the thing that is affecting refugees and immigrants.
Saeed, do you have something you'd like to add to that?
Yes, Michael. I would like to share my personal experience. When I enrolled my kids in Lynn in school, it was even not for my kids, even for me, it was a really hard day. In the school, and I just returned home, I felt something very hard in my heart because my elder daughter was, after passing the exam, he was accepted in the 3rd class. Little Said was enrolled in 2nd class, 2nd grade. So when after they were crying, like, Dad, we are not gonna go to school tomorrow. I said, why, kids? They said, we really don't know the language. I said, you learn it, don't worry, we will help you. And the principal of that school was a really humble man. He, at the beginning, he told me, like, Said, don't worry, we have here a language teacher, and specifically will be assigned for those new refugees to assist them in their education, in their lessons. That was the language part, but luckily managed that. The kids were able to, like, quickly learn the language, and that problem was over the 9 months it was solved. But another issue, like, which was always a burden on my shoulder, the education or the curriculum. In Afghanistan, they were taught total different curriculum, and here it was totally different. Culture, free, mathematics, everything. So I was busy with the Lynn Community Center. I was working there as a worker, and I have to drive all the day with the clients. And the evening when I come, the kid was just waiting for me. Dad, now help us with the math, with the geography, with the history, with everything. So, like, I was like all rounder, let's say. So that was also, mom was also, but at that time, my wife was expecting a new baby. So that was a really hard time.
That integration process is so difficult, right? That process of figuring out all of those systems.
Not only for me, kids. So when we came here and the kids grew up, so little Said is now, he is like almost 13 years old. And he grew up with a total different mentality in Afghanistan. You know, Afghanistan is a war-hit country. We can ignore, like, harshments going on over there. My big concern is, and every day I'm just tell him, do not hurt people and your classmate in the class, because it will have a huge consequences. And this is really, really, like, concerned me. But luckily, well, thanks God, so far he's good, because he's physically very, like, healthy and young man, and his classmate is a little bit, tiny guy, let's say. So this is like another issue. The third issue is I felt with my young daughter, Zara, the discrimination. Here in the school, she told me one day, Dad, there are a few classmates who really, like, bother me, like, look at your, just make fun of her. I went to the school and I just talked to her and the principal. Then I make a decision to change her to another class. But the problem was solved, but not like basically. It was just we changed the class, but still the cars, few of them are still going with the car. So this discrimination still exists, unfortunately, not only with my daughter, with all the Asian and Hispanic. Like, this is reality, we cannot ignore that. So this was like personal experience I just been through, So I just share with the question regarding the rise up here.
Thank you for sharing that. I'd also like to just acknowledge that I learned so much through the process. Obviously, I am US born, and I really learned through the process the many layers of challenges that so many immigrants and refugees go through. And one of the things that concerns me greatly right now is that we have huge cuts in terms of the basic facilities and resources that are available to help folks that are newly arrived in the United States with job training, skills development, yes, language classes as well. And I know that many of the organizations that are trying to provide these facilities and resources for immigrants and refugees, and I expect it's true in Alabama as well, are dealing with extreme financial challenges. And because of the federal government's dramatic cuts in these resources, the national organizations have been cutting hundreds and hundreds of staff people and closing offices regionally. And we know from history that these kind of setbacks cause families and individuals to get into even more difficulty in terms of their ability to economically, culturally, educationally integrate and be able to find successful lives here. And again, I hope that many of you who I know are very engaged with these issues might speak to some of these issues and what's going on, for example, in Alabama right now in terms of any of these kinds of issues.
This is Linda Wilson. I don't want to dominate, so I just invite if anyone else would like to speak up. But our Alabama Interfaith Refugees Partnership started 4 years ago just as a refugee interest group under the auspices of the Unitarian Church. And we were trying to educate ourselves basically at knowing about the huge refugee crisis and hearing about the ban on Syrian immigrants, all the things that were happening with when President Trump was elected. We have no refugee resettlement agency in Birmingham. The only one in Alabama is in Mobile. So unlike what you describe in Lynn, Massachusetts, we don't have that many actual refugees, but we have a huge number of asylum seekers here in Alabama. And in partnership with other groups, the Alabama Coalition for Immigrant Justice, Hispanic Interest Coalition of Alabama, Birmingham Islamic Society. There are many groups, I think, trying in many different ways to provide support. We're trying on a limited basis, because we're a small group, to provide direct support as we can and help financially with legal costs, which is a huge expense. And for us, this is a big challenge because there's such a variety of outcomes for asylum seekers based on the immigration court that people go to. So we're in the process of trying to identify resources that could help people. But I think as we grow and learn about other organizations and groups such as yours and others we've begun to partner with, we'll become even able to do more than we're currently able to do. I just want to invite any others who are currently working in this area. I see some of the others on our board and other groups. Just please chime in.
I'm gonna try to hire a lot of the people we talking about, even Native Americans too.
Well, I am happy to speak a little bit just off of what Linda was talking about. So I'm new to Alabama. I just moved here a year ago. Prior to that, I was in Ohio. And to give some reference on how many people, last year, Alabama resettled about 35, I think, refugees in the state. Ohio resettled about 3,500. So that's thousands of people versus under 50. And I think for our system, I've lived in other states. I've also worked with immigrants and refugees in Arizona and Ohio, and now in Alabama. And what's frustrating for me is each time I get to a new state, I have to relearn now the state's process. There's the federal government process, and then there's what the state does. And for people who also move within these states, because some people might be settled in one state but move because they have communities in other states, they have more processes to learn. And all of that is really challenging. It can feel very exclusionary. And those numbers make a big difference. And having organizations and people who are allowing to help through that process is really important. One of the, I'm going to try to see if I get the quote right, but one of the things I've read was that the immigration and refugee resettlement policies of the United States is built upon self-sufficiency. And yet you're talking about people. In Ohio, I worked with the Karen. The Karen are a group that have been in refugee camps for decades. And the average number of years that a Karen has lived in refugee camp is about 25 years. And some have been born and lived their entire life there. So then to come and then within 3 months have to kind of like get settled in, find a job, get English language classes going, follow the system can be very challenging. And the cuts that have been happening in Ohio in particular that I'm more familiar with has been pretty devastating to those resources and the structure and being able to help people navigate that. And then what's also really important are like organizations like ALIRP and some of the other people that we have here who have co-sponsored this event, because they fill the gaps where some of the federal organizations aren't able to provide the resources. And those gaps are really, really big. And so being able to help some of that area, like Linda said at the beginning, she sort of had an affiliation with that story of paying the bill. That's those sort of things. Those are some of the gaps that need filling and a little bit of assistance. So that's a little bit of my personal experience working with organizations and partnering with different communities that span a number of ethnic groups. And also when I've worked in centers that have the English language classes, you know, sometimes we have this image of like everybody in the class share the same language and then they're learning English. But sometimes you're in a group and everyone speaks a different language and they're all trying to learn English. So that diversity that can exist within just a population that shares the same community that's being resettled or being like immigrating and migrating and building communities can kind of be really great to build community, but it can also be something that requires filling the gaps and helping to provide services.
Thank
Really
you
helpful.
for sharing that. I think going off the resources, we have a question from April about what are some of the health concerns that we're facing now in the different immigrant communities with COVID or even before COVID. We know that there's a lot of legal and financial issues, but besides that, are there any other issues that some of our filmmakers, or I know there's several volunteers on here that have experience, could talk about?
I can talk about my where I live. I live in Revere and it's close to Chelsea. Chelsea is the top 1 city in Massachusetts hit by COVID-19, the highest rate in Chelsea. And Lynn, where Raphael lived, is I think number 4 or number 5. We are number 6. And we have some research about this, why our town hit so hard in COVID-19, because we are almost 40% of immigrants, and the blue collar needed to go to work. Some people work in the restaurant, some people in the hospital. So it's so hard to to stay home. And most of us are living in a several generation household. It's no way to, if you get infected, no way to live outside and the whole family get infected. And we heard some case that the whole family all in the hospital and the older generation died, and some disaster happened in a whole family. So I think for me, it's so hard to see people lost a job, lost a life, and almost no food on the table in immigrant cities. That's what happened around me.
It's such a vulnerable system. And I think that example really highlights that when there is a disaster that hits a system that's already vulnerable, then we see those like the example of families that live with a lot of people in the household, or that maybe are working in jobs where there isn't a relief situation for them, are the ones that are hardest hit. So yes, I thank you for sharing that, Chen. Michael?
No, I just wanted to add that I did post in the chat for anybody who might be interested some wonderful research I've seen done by New American Economy and updates that they've been doing on the specific impact around COVID-19. They do great research just around impact on immigrants and refugees of various issues, but there's been some really good information regarding what's going on recently. And of course, you know, we know across the board that minorities, immigrants, refugees are in general much more at risk, who are working on the front lines, who are in healthcare. You know, some of their key findings are that immigrant women in particular are critical to healthcare in America and have been hit very hard. And, you know, that immigrants are also just so fundamentally important to our food chain. And that is a very vulnerable situation right now, both in terms of the work they're doing as well as in terms of the supply. Also, I just want to mention for folks that, you know, we have all of the films, there are 10 of them online, and you should see them. One of them I should point out is by Ugandan, and here in Massachusetts, Ugandans have become dominant, not out of choice as the film highlights, but just because of the process of how it works of surviving. When you arrive in the United States, they become dominant in the home health care and nursing industry here, or nurses aid industry. And of course, his film, Mubarak's film, is actually about his work in healthcare and his wife's. It was made, of course, before the recent crisis. He, fortunately, and his wife so far are doing okay, but they are, again, really emblematic of being at extreme risk and constantly dealing with multiple shifts, working in multiple institutions that are not able to manage the situation well. And fortunately, they haven't gotten sick or any of their family members yet, but from an economic and healthcare perspective, they're really struggling.
Thank you. We have another question about switching back to legal resources. Immigrants that, you know, pay immigration attorneys and then they don't end up with citizenship, so they're kind of back to square one. Do any of you have experience with that or can speak to that and overcoming that obstacle?
Linda, you come to mind on that one. I'm not sure if you want to speak, but that when I saw that question, I thought of you.
Well, I'll just say that this is a huge challenge, and our board has been struggling because the immigration court, people who seek asylum from Alabama, they get assigned to go to either Atlanta or New Orleans. Most get assigned to Atlanta. And Syracuse University publishes the percentage of asylum cases that are approved by both judge and by court. And Atlanta has one of the lowest rates in the country. I think it's maybe 2% approved of all the applications. And you look at other courts, New York, California, even Ohio, they're much higher. They may go up to 60% approved. So we've struggled with, for example, we've had a shelter in Texas referred a family from Angola to us last year, and that family ended up wanting to go to Maine, where there was a larger Angolan community. But we wondered, should we offer to sponsor people coming to Alabama from other places when we're fearing that we're setting them up for failure? April Jackson McLennan, who's chair of our education committee, is an attorney and has worked in immigration law. April, I wonder if you have any comments about that. We might have have some, April told me she might have some challenges with her coworker whose 6-year-old daughter. So she might be distracted.
Just a minute.
Just a moment. So she may come back in a minute. But any other thoughts on that? I think that's a
Well,
huge
one thing that I
challenge.
would just also say that I've learned doing this project is, frankly, how complex the system is, and in many, many ways, how unnecessarily complex it is because of our very dysfunctional immigration system. The legal layers that have been added on over decades that are putting individuals in situations that they should not be in and trying to overcome barriers is really just bureaucratic absurdity. And it's another reason that we just have to keep banging away at trying to get more comprehensive reform, both in terms of how the asylum process works in this country, as well as citizenship opportunities for new immigrants.
April, are you there now?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. If I can just echo back to what Michael just said, the legal immigration process, depending on how you enter the country, is just such a maze, quite honestly. And because of this administration's relentless attacks, if I can say that, attacks on the fundamentals of this system, it's become increasingly difficult to challenge and make a viable case for asylum, even in the most favorable of appellate regions to apply. And as Linda so adequately pointed out, and many of our sponsors have, the burden is so high. One of the issues, the primary issues, as many have pointed out, is that it is very expensive to hire a private attorney. And because of the dearth of resources to various immigration communities, it can be very difficult to even secure pro bono, or, as I would say, low bono representation, and even pursuing a viable case. When I worked as an immigration attorney, I'm in government now, but when I worked as an immigration attorney with a local attorney here, we would submit thousands of pages for every one application. Most attorneys I know in the region do not do that. And we had a higher favorable outcome, or percentage of favorable outcomes, because of the time that we spent, the hours of printing, of research, of securing expert witnesses, country conditions, everything we could possibly obtain. But I understand that that is not the case for the majority of people who apply. And although we are working, the board, especially Linda, has been so wonderful in working towards coming up with a network of attorneys who can work pro bono or low bono. It is, again, increasingly difficult to locate people who are able to even commence this work on behalf of our communities. And honestly, it breaks my heart. And again, we're working, and I think that there are a lot of people who are willing to learn, but I think until we can form a network of people who are willing to do this work, even if it's not thousands of pages of documents, I'm not really sure where our immigrant communities all over the nation are left, quite honestly. So I would say, in addition to the necessary health foundations and funding just to become settled in this country, I think we really need to work on really stabilizing a network, a national network of people who can do this work, because it is vital.
Thank you, April. I just wanted to also mention, I know we're kind of at time, but I maybe if Raphael wanted to make a comment, that would be really nice to hear. Having lived in Arizona, I've known a lot of DACA people, particularly students at the university, and the highly politicized legal category that comes up and is constantly sort of, the ground is shifting underneath it. So sort of thinking in that legal zone, the DACA paperwork is also, and the process is also very complicated and very different. And so Raphael, I didn't know if you might have a couple of thoughts on that.
I learned much, even though that I have heard the word DACA for a long time. It wasn't until I really connect with Anniver that I really have like an idea what a DACA really was and what that means. As she said in the film, and when she was on the interview on the congressman office, they actually admit that this is one of the things that they really get more involved in terms of helping navigate that, because it is complex. So in the particular case of Annabelle, her mother make a friendship with a lawyer that actually helped them to file that. And she has other friends that are also apply for DACA. And this is the kind of application that that you cannot do by yourself, even though that is right there, and they say like, download these 30 forms, fill it up, send it over. So all the cases that I know is like through really having paying lawyers, and I don't know around here like many organizations that really help with that, because this is really tied to attorney wise, because there is like a services office, but they don't do that. They'll do the taxes and other paperwork, but when it comes to like DACA stuff like that, it's really tied to attorney. So this is a definitely a big challenge, because it might be a lot of people out there that could qualify, but they don't have the resources to really just fight for that, because that really honestly costs money. Everything that involves lawyers.
And it's probably risky if they're not positive that they'll end up with the citizenship at the end. That's
Also when they file for that, then they are exposed, right? They fear that they now know where they live, with who they live, and what they do. That's also, yeah, definitely one of the concerns.
Does anyone else have any questions to add?
Hi, my name is Selena. I wanted to comment about what Rafael said. I'm not sure if you guys can hear me.
Yeah, we
can
hear
hear you.
Okay, my name is Selena. I worked with an attorney last year, and we seen a lot of DACA that sometimes, like Rafael say, download this and just send it out. And sometimes people don't want to pay attorney to file the petition. They just hire someone that says that do taxes, or a how you say this, someone that just speaks English and fill out the application, send it off. What happens after that, if they need a lot of proof to confirm that the person came into the United States when it was small, to confirm that that child was here in July of 2012. So sometimes they don't give that information. So immigration denies the application, and after that they get a notice saying your application is denied. And when we ask them who did it or who worked on it, and they say, oh, it's one of my friends, and sometimes they pay more than the fee, because they have to pay the attorney, their time, they mistake. So it's better to hire an attorney if you don't know, or the person doesn't know what to do. And about the asylum, there is a lot of going on here in Birmingham, Alabama. Like I say, I used to work with an immigration attorney, and we have seen a lot of denials, not just because they hire an attorney. Sometimes they just fill out the application and that's it. And they don't send the table of contents, like the country condition, witnesses, like Miss, I'm not sure her name, like she said in Atlanta, there's 3% chance of winning a case. And sometimes our client moves out of the state when they hear from someone else saying California is giving the green card, and they move out of the states. And what happens? They lose their money spending the attorney just to fight for their case. So there's a lot of going on. And not just that, there's attorney that they do immigration case, but they don't know more about immigration law, because we have seen a lot of children that come to the United States, minors, but there's another opportunity, not just DACA, but there's another opportunity about, they call it juvenile case, SIJS. The form is I-360. So sometimes they file asylum, but sometimes they have the opportunity to qualify for a green card. And many immigrants don't know that program. And it's a good opportunity for immigrants out there that they qualify for something, but unfortunately there's immigration attorney that they don't know about that program.
And can I just echo Selena's comments in saying that that is very prevalent. It is especially prevalent here in Birmingham, but I've seen that throughout the nation. And unfortunately, you have a lot of unscrupulous attorneys who will take individuals' monies knowing that what they're working on, they don't have the sufficient subject matter expertise, or they don't have the connections, especially for country conditions or experts, to really make a viable case, and then end up taking what amounts to tens of thousands of dollars with no realistic expectation given to that client of their potential outcome. So I think that, as Selena was saying, I think the problem is multi-pronged, and I think there needs to be multi-tiered solutions. But I've seen personally, I have a friend who approached us when I was working with John Bell here in town to handle a case for her and her father. And a number of issues came up, particularly relating to an attorney that she had worked with before, who had taken what amounted to $20,000 without even working on the case.
Mm-hmm. We have seen a lot of those cases. And
Yes.
Unfortunately, because people always think that immigrants don't have the right. And by not speaking up, sometimes they just, okay, this is my case. And when we send a FOIA request, there's everything that we need. And we had a case last year that this man had already had his green card, but the attorney that was working on his case never sent a request. What happens to this case? So they have been like 5 years with the green card, and they never knew. And this attorney kept asking for money. So there's a lot going on out there.
Hi, I just wanted to add, my name's Gabby. I'm a student here in Birmingham, and I got information about this through Dr. Wilson. And I'm also a first-generation Venezuelan American. And one of the things that, we keep hearing about this struggle, and sometimes it seems really overwhelming. What are the solutions? What can we do to fix it? And one of the things that I really appreciated about the films is that it was focused on how resilient immigrants and refugees are, but also normalizing us in the sense, the cooking with family members, and we all can relate to that. And I think that's one of the beauty of filmmaking or writing or the creative arts, is where you can see someone else in a story or a video or film. And I think that's really important. And I really appreciated that. I also worked in Rwanda for a little bit. And one of the things they talk about in genocide, or like thinking about ways to prevent genocides, is if you really knew me, how this would never happen. And I think the films really are one step in that. And I really appreciate that. So thank you.
Thank you, Gabby. I know our time is probably nearing an end. I know, Raphael, there's some final comments before we turn it over to Michael?
I just want to say my own comment on all the films, because it doesn't matter how many times I see it. I always have feelings about all the films. But I have to say, within the 10 films, I see the same thing in all of them. And just echoing what was said before, is like how what I see is like family trying to do better, like in different ways, right? Different situation in different ways. But what I see, what I learn also filming my film, seeing the others, is just like being organic, pointing the camera, just capturing what's happening. It's just like you will see family, like mothers trying to do the best with their child, like regular family just trying to navigate struggles. So I just want to mention that this is what I see aligned within. It's just like struggle like any other family, regardless of if they are like immigrant or refugees. Like it's just like I can see in the films, like just trying to do the best. So you can go now, Mike.
Thanks, Rafael. Shall we? One of the things I always said during the training was, shall we? Because, you know, we would take little breaks or have lunch, and then it would be, shall we? Shall we get back to it? And so I want to thank you all so much for your participation. Gabi, it was really interesting to hear your comments, and I really appreciate that comment, because the filmmakers work so hard on trying to find avenues to create lived experience for people that the viewer could connect to. And really, as you so eloquently said, that is what film storytelling in any of its forms can do best, is provide an avenue for people to be able to see their own experiences through somebody else's and be able to connect and understand better. And really, that's the mission of the NERV project, of Saeed and Rafael and Chin and the 7 others and all the subjects, is to have events like this, frankly, where we open it up for discussion and allow people to reflect on their own experiences and to bring that to the conversation. I know we have to wrap it up. I thank Linda and all of the organizers for everything you've done to make this possible, and to all of your work in the community that you're doing on these issues. We have one favor as community-supported film to ask of you right now, is we're going to post in the chat a link to a survey feedback form, not a survey, sorry, a feedback form. And it's really, really important for us, because we have, frankly, a very, very difficult time being able to, this is the form here, being able to get funding to do these kind of events. And we're really strapped. We could use your support, of course, but we're also often trying to go to grant makers and funders, and they're always asking for what they love, which is quantitative data. Data about people's reactions to the events and the films. And this form is very, very simple. It's just a few questions that ask you to just give us some feedback so that we can give people an understanding of what people get out of, positively, negatively, whatever you can give us. Constructive criticism is very welcome. And as I say, the films are available. We'd really like to hear from you if you have ideas for other events in your community or across the country, other organizations you may know, networks. We're working very hard to get more and more of these conversations going, particularly through the fall and the election season. All the resources are online in terms of organizing events, as many of you know, but please do be in touch with us about what you can do with the material. So thank you again, and we look forward to staying in touch and getting your feedback. Please fill out that form.